Okay, so awesome. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mind Your Own Black Business, whereby we, have on the show people who, or owners of black businesses, UK-based businesses, entrepreneurs, and also people who might be doing wider things in the community. And today, I'm very much honored to have somebody on the show who I met. Wow, can't remember because I sometimes forget my age. It might be close to 20 years ago, or just less than that, at an event which was aimed at helping to build our community, but via one aspect of it being youth mentorship. But anyway, before I even just go into one, I think it's going to be best if I let him introduce himself. So, Ken, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. As many of our guests, I know that you are also a very, very busy man. But first of all, for those who are watching and listening right now, please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, good evening, Ali. It's a pleasure to be on your show. As you said, my name is Ken. But I have an AKA at the moment, which is the Lean Mind Body Coach, because my area of focus, as we will discuss today, is all about health and well-being. My journey's been a long one and a varied one. And maybe I'll allow you to be able to touch on some of the points. But what is exciting for me now is where I am now in my life. You know, sometimes life leads you on a journey, you do certain things, and you wonder why those things happen in your life. And my life is directing me now to the vocation I believe is going to take me to my retirement age, and something I feel really, really, really passionate about. And I'm sure during this interview here, I'll have an opportunity to share that with you.
Awesome, great stuff. So thank you very much for that. So you just mentioned something I was going to touch on, that you're also the Lean Mind Body Coach.
Yeah.
What is that? And what is that, first of all?
So the LEAN is an acronym. The L stands for lifestyle, which focuses on, well, LEAN focuses on 4 areas. So the L is for lifestyle, and the main focus of lifestyle is about stress and sleep. They are 2 important factors in your life. Let me just say, my main focus is on weight loss, which I'm sure I'll talk about a little bit later on. And sleep and stress plays a massive role in how well and effective you can lose weight. The E in LEAN stands for exercise. Exercise is incredibly important. Now, this may be counter to the narrative that a number of your audiences may have heard, but exercise doesn't really make you lose weight. Research after research has shown that, but unfortunately.
So are you then suggesting that I can now safely cancel my gym subscription and save some money there?
No, exercise is excellent. Exercise is an excellent way to be able to stay healthy, fight osteoporosis, heart rate, endorphins, stress. It's a fantastic and healthy exercise, and something I do regular. But unfortunately, the mindset people have with regards to exercise and its ability to lose weight is very, very outdated and based on flawed science. Exercise doesn't really help you to lose weight. But we may talk about it later on. And as I said, it may be counter to the narrative some of your audience may have heard in the past. So the A in LEAN stands for attitude and mindset. And this is a fundamental area where many people who embark on a healthy lifestyle or any lifestyle change or even an entrepreneurial journey seem to miss out on. In fact, for me, it's the foundation of everything I do. Developing the right attitude and mindset that all the other things can be planted in. And the N in LEAN stands for nutrition, which is another fundamental part, which is really the cornerstone of what allows me to help people to lose weight and increase their health in so many other ways. So it's L for stress and sleep, E for exercise, A for attitude and mindset, and the N is for nutrition. So I am the Lean Mind Body Coach because it's those 4 areas that my practice focuses on at the moment. I'm a certified health coach. I've been qualified for a number of years. I'm also qualified in CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I studied that deeply because I wanted to understand the mindset of why people stop doing things, and also why they started, and basically how to help people create habits, because it is a habit that allows people to be able to develop a lifestyle. And as you know, any entrepreneur will tell you, you start on your entrepreneurial journey, and it's your habits which will dictate how successful you are. And I'm also an author of a number of books, but the book I'm really, really proud of is my most recent book called The L.E.A.N Mind-Body Method, which kind of shows people the 4 areas, and it speaks about my journey of how I lost 50 pounds in 6 months. An incredible journey. Not only did I lose 50 pounds in 6 months, I was a pre-diabetic, and I was very, very close to being a diabetic. My journey allowed me to cure my pre-diabetes, so I'm now at a normal level. And something else which is quite common, but often people don't speak about, is something called sleep apnea. And it's a dangerous thing. It's where you stop breathing throughout the night. And when you stop breathing, it's called an apnea. And what happens, you wake up tired and you wake up exhausted, and it can lead to many other health problems. My journey over the 6 to 9 months has also cured my sleep apnea. And I've got many other health benefits. So with all these exciting things happening to me, without medication, without drugs, I just felt it was a time for me to be able to share my journey with the world and help as many people as I can who I feel have been miseducated, to understand a way that they can change their life and change their way without medication, and in an easy and a simple way.
Awesome. So first of all, just want to say to anybody who's listening right now, so whether you're in via Zoom or whether you're joining us via Facebook Live, please feel free to enter the conversation as well. So leave your comments, leave any questions that you may have, and I'll do my best to be able to ask them or engage you into this conversation with Ken. So Ken, just want to say, you know what, there's a few things that you've just said there that really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
One, when you mentioned about sleep and stress,
Mm-hmm.
One of the areas that I am quite challenged in. It's
Mm-hmm.
getting better, but one of the areas that I'm being challenged in, we all have personal stuff that goes on in our life,
Mm-hmm.
and from time to time it impacts the sleep. Also, something that you said there, which was the fact that people sometimes wake up really tired, and that is also me. I've boiled it down to stress and everything else. To knowing I'm pre-diabetic as well, and I'm having sleep challenges. What you just said there really appeals to me, and definitely I'm going to be looking into. Maybe we'll get a chance in a moment to show the picture, but if any of you saw the promo picture, you will see on the left. Let me put it the politically correct way.
Yeah. No, you can say it, call it as it is. Let's just call it as it is.
All right, thank you, brother. You see Blubberken?
Yeah, call it as it is.
Yeah, the Blubberken. And then you see the L.E.A.N Ken.
The L.E.A.N Ken, yes, just as it is.
Yeah,
you know,
well done to you, brother.
Look, let me tell you, just to be real, I mean, there is a number of things that as a man or even as a woman that can knock your self-esteem. And one of them is when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see. You don't like the way your body looks. And it can be outside of your health, just that mental turmoil that goes on when you look in that mirror and you feel that you're a stone 2 or 3 or 4, 5, and you've tried and you haven't been able to lose that weight. It can be really, really self-defeating. You know, and I've been there. I know what it's like to look in the mirror and feel embarrassed about my body. And this is why I don't mind sharing the images of the Blubberken, because I'll say there is. I don't mind sharing those images. It did take a little bit of courage because it's not a very nice image. It was an image that may be very vulnerable. But if it can allow people to show my journey, and if I can do it, because I have no other special talent than anybody else, then they could do the same thing. And this, I know you speak a lot about entrepreneurship. Are you about to show Blubber Ken on the stream? Because, oh, there you go. Look at that.
There you go. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
there you go.
we're trying to make it help in real life, in real time.
I mean, I look. It's what you call vexing. I don't look happy at all. I mean, on the left there. I mean, you wouldn't look happy. You wouldn't look happy if you looked like that either, would you? I mean, come on now. It's not exactly blind date material. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, but here's the thing about it, right? And I appreciate obviously you sharing this as well, and I love the fact that you're able to show your before and after. And you're right, because we all go there, we all have that. Even myself, I'll be honest. You know, sometimes when you meet people and it's just like, oh, they point at your belly, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on there, right? You're like, wow, you know, I thought I looked good, so I totally get that. But you know, this just demonstrates actually some of the real time or the visual benefits that you get from your lean mind-body process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I want to tie this into entrepreneurship because this is, I've been entrepreneurial all my life. I mean, the thing about being an entrepreneur, it can be incredibly demanding to be an entrepreneur. You have to think on your feet, and sometimes, you know, under great stress. Now, when you're not healthy, your mental clarity is not there. When you don't sleep enough, you don't have as much mental clarity as you want. And, you know, you have hormones like ghrelin and leptin that affect your cortisol levels, affect your glucose levels, affect the way your body, when you're eating food, it affects the way that food manifests in your body. Now, look, when you don't exercise, you can feel lethargic. Yeah. When you're not eating the right food, I mean, how many times have you, you know, coming up to say 11, 12 o'clock and you're feeling slightly tired after your mid-morning meal? And that's what we call the carb crash. And that's when you're eating these high sugar laden foods. Now, how effective as an entrepreneur can you be if you're tired all the time? How effective as an entrepreneur can you be if your mental clarity is not there? How effective as an entrepreneur can you be if you don't feel good about yourself? Because you go into a meeting, you're meeting people, and you know, sometimes when you don't feel great about yourself, you feel the world is not going to feel great about you. So this is where I feel a lot of entrepreneurs kind of miss the point, where they focus on the wealth, but they don't focus on the health because they don't see how important. And for me, I think the two are just as important, because as we know already, there are many people who have earned millions, and unfortunately they have not had the health to appreciate that. So I do think that on your entrepreneurial journey, that you're, you know, let's chase the wealth. We all want to live a good life. We all want to leave something for our children, but we also want to be fit and well enough to be able to enjoy our children and enjoy that wealth. And this is the epiphany that came to me, which allowed me to try and, as I progress and as I move forward in my life, to be able to create that balance between striving to better myself economically, but not at the total sacrifice of my health. And this is a message that I try to share with people nearly every day now on my media and the people I speak to.
Awesome. And first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing that message. As an entrepreneur, somebody who runs multiple businesses, who also involved in lots of traveling and stuff, and then also has real personal life stuff going on as well. I can relate to what you're talking about there. I recognize that when I'm not sleeping well, I'm not drinking enough water, or not exercising, I don't always find that I'm on point. And you know as well, and as many of the other business owners or entrepreneurs out there will know as well, sometimes opportunities will come our way and we only have one chance to grab that opportunity. I think it's Eminem in one of the lyrics, he said you only have one chance to blow, but he's talking about that same concept right there, right? And you know, where I haven't been living a lifestyle which has been
conducive.
Yeah. So sometimes I get hit with opportunities and I'm walking away from the opportunity saying, oh, bruv, you didn't, you know you could have done better than that.
Yeah.
But just because physically, mentally, I'm just exhausted. I'm not
Absolutely.
Not fully present.
Absolutely. And Do you know do you know I mentioned two hormones about ghrelin and leptin. The thing about when you don't sleep, Andy, what happens, these hormones go out of whack. And when you're ghrelin and leptin, ghrelin is a hormone that tells you you're hungry, and leptin is a hormone that says you're full. And I don't know if you notice sometimes when you don't get enough sleep that you wake up and you just eat, and you don't even care. You just want something sweet to kind of to make you feel better. These are because your hormones are out of whack. Now, not only do this hormone imbalance make you put on weight, but it affects your mental clarity. You don't think as clear, and also you'll get stressed. You'll get stressed and you'll get argumentative, and things will weigh you down even more. So this is why it's so important to be able to look after yourself, look after your health, and it will just allow you to be more focused. The hour or so or you take out of your day, or the couple of hours you take to sleep more, because I always suggest that people start from 7.5 hours and work your way down, because often as an entrepreneur, we think it's quantity that makes up the productivity, but it's not. It's quality of time, and there are people who have learned to be able to be more effective in 5 hours than some people are in 10 hours, because they're not in the right state to be able to produce the quality of work that they normally would do.
Well, it's funny you should say that as well. One of the key things, as you know, one of the areas that I specialize is in agile and lean business change. And one of the key things we talk about is actually how do you do more with less? How do you achieve more with less money? How do you achieve more with less time? How do you achieve more with less resources? It's also great to hear you talking about they're actually by looking after ourselves, right? And finding and taking care of ourselves, then we as an entrepreneur can actually be much more productive, maybe in a less amount of time. Instead of just working ourselves to the bone and working ourselves out.
Absolutely, and I've definitely experienced that. My over the last 3 years since I've been on my journey, my mental clarity it's just increased incredibly, and you know life has a way. Especially let's look at this COVID period that we've just gone through. I mean, I think one of the
gone through.
Well, we're going through. I mean, that intense part. I mean, there are a number of people who have really kind of suffered emotionally and mentally during that time, and have come out of this period. Their health has declined dramatically, because we all dealt with this period in different ways, especially if someone was isolated. But the one way that people can really, really, really bring up a protection in so many ways is to really focus on their health. And, it doesn't mean going to the gym for an hour or 2 hours every day. It really just means taking small steps every single day. And you create a lifestyle that over the next 6 months leads to you feeling fitter and better than you've ever done before.
Okay, so I'm sure that just as what you've shared here resonates with me in my personal life and circumstances, that there's potentially many people listening and watching this right now who can also know, or it resonates with them as well, should I say. So, and I like what you've said there. So one of the things that I also encourage lots of clients to do as part of my agile work is take small incremental steps, take small steps, and then, it's like
it doesn't have to be huge steps, just small, just something, I have this, it's just a small step process. It's just, what one thing can I do today? I ask myself that question. What one thing can I do today that will allow me to be able to improve my health in some way? Just one thing. And each day I make sure I do that one thing. And those one things compound over a series of time. And the great thing is, once you start feeling the benefits, you don't even need the motivation, really, because it will just come internally.
You spoke before that I think attitude, which is the A and L.
Yeah.
You spoke there about habits. We know that scientists say that it takes 21 days to reform a habit,
Mm.
and you've kind of just touched on it there again, which is actually there comes a point where it just becomes part of your lifestyle. What I'm asking you to do now is to think back to day one, right? Day one, when you've got to that point, you've looked in the mirror and you're just like, okay, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to change my my lifestyle. There are potentially many people who are watching right now who, like I said, this resonates with, but they're like, okay, where do I start? And I don't know about some of the listeners, but sometimes when the task seems too big, it's quite easy to procrastinate and not do anything. So for those people out there thinking back to how you were in your mental stage and
Mm-hmm.
whatever at that point, what one tip or suggestion would you give them to start that journey, but also to create the level of consistency that's required for the habits to change so that they can go to the next step, and eventually in 6 months time, like yourself, look back on themselves? And it may not even just be weight loss. Some people might be happy with where they are physically, but mentally and emotionally, internally, they might be saying, well, actually, I'm not at my optimal best. What would you suggest would be the first thing that they should start?
Okay, I can definitely answer that question, but let me just go back to the comment you made previously. This 21 days and 28 days to create habits is actually false. It was based on a surgeon a plastic surgeon who operated on individuals, and he realized they could use part of their limb back again after 21 or 28 days. It actually takes between 64 and 54 days to change your habit, depending on the habit. So this 28 days, it's all about to sell books. But again, that is another controversial. For me, it's not so much a simple process, but this is what I did. And it has helped so many of my clients. And the first thing I ask them to do is what I call Wise Up. And it's an acronym for why. And the W stands for just understand or work out what your why is. Now, your why needs to be so big, so emotional that it moves you. For me, it was my children. And, you've worked with my children in the organization we used to belong to. And, I looked at the amount of individuals at my age who were passing away through lifestyle illnesses. And I said, look, I want to be the best father I can be to my children. And I cannot be the best father I can be to my children if I'm unwell. And I certainly cannot be any kind of father to them if, God forbid, I pass away. So for me to be as healthy and as fit and live as long as I can, God willing, was my why. That was my why. So I could sit, joke, and when my grandchildren come, I don't want to be rocking in a chair. I want to be able to run up and down the park with my grandchildren. So that was my why. And I looked at my children and I said, no, I want to be here for you as long as I can. And that is still my why. And it was such a motivating why for me, really. And this is the first thing I ask people to do. Work out a why. And work, because your why is your values. Yeah. When you value something, yeah, you work towards it. So if you have a big enough why, doesn't matter how many times you fall, you will get back up again. And my children are my why that will get me up now every single time. And then I just break it down. Just the Wise Up is just two other sections, and the H is what I call the how. And then I said, well, once you've worked out your why, what you then do, you look at the H, so okay, how are you going to achieve your why? And for me, it was this L.E.A.N Mind-Body method using the 4 areas: the sleep, the exercise, the right mindset, and the nutrition. And the way my nutrition works is through sugar and refined carbohydrate reduction. And then the third part of the why is a U. It's possibly the hardest, because this is where you need some introspection. So you've worked out your why. It's really strong. It's really emotional. It really moves you. You'll understand the how. So how are you going to achieve it? I said, then the why is the you. What is the you need to become? What are the skill sets, the mindsets, the attributes that you need to develop? Recognize that your ability and your thinking has got you where you are. So it's not going to get you any further. You need to say, well, you haven't been doing things correctly. So how now do I need to change to become the you I need to become to be able to take the journey of the how so I can, fulfill my goal. And this is the in a basic way, the way that I took the journey that I took and how I take my clients through. So it really starts with understanding your why. When you have a strong why, you get up, you fall down 99 times and you get up 99 times.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as a father of three, I totally get the power of the why when it comes to children. And I guess some of the listeners out there or who are watching right now, especially some of the entrepreneurs, may not be at the stage where they have any children yet. And I guess for them, the why could be whatever they envisage, the reason why they're on this journey to build a business, whatever's motivating and driving them around that. But this is really, really good stuff. And I personally am going to go away and start revisiting my why, because I guess sometimes, and the whole how and the you, because sometimes I guess we can go down a route where we've done this, and it's an exercise I've done before, but also like I've highlighted, recognizing that right now I'm not getting as much sleep as I want to. So maybe it's a case of now I need to set myself a disciplined time of actually getting to bed. Actually, that's quite hard though, especially because I'm a night worker. At night time, I'm just creative at night time. But in the daytime, I've got businesses that I need to service clients. So but anyway, those are all excuses, right? When the why is big enough, we'll find a way to make it work. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But, as I said, that, it has to be a real emotional why. And, let's be honest. How many people have only found their why when their doctors told them, this is what you need to do. Otherwise,
you're gonna die.
Do you understand me? And then they have found a why that they didn't really know exists. So why do we need to wait till that time comes? Let's be proactive and create a barrier against that and develop that why now.
Awesome. Great stuff. So great way for us to move on to something else. So you were previously, you were the founder of an organization called the 100 Black Men of London. Speaking about why, what led you, or why did you feel the need to start that organization, which I believe is now nearly 20 years old, right?
Yeah, it's a fantastic organization. I mean, it started up in Birmingham, and I was a member of the chapter there, and the call came to start the chapter in London. And again, my second daughter wasn't born then. It was only my eldest, Bria, was born there. And the thought came about starting the organization in London. And I said to myself, look, Ken, we can be socially conscious around the dinner table all the time. We can talk about the problems after we've had our rice and peas and chicken on Facebook or social media now. Or social media. We can talk. We can be concerned. But do you remember the saying I say? But it's only when you're concerned enough. It's only when you're concerned enough that your rhetoric turns to action. And I said, okay, being a member of the Birmingham chapter was one thing. But what about my own local community? What about the area where my children grow up? And I just felt a duty and responsibility to be able to act for my community, but again, looking at my daughter. And that was the catalyst. And it was a lot of trepidation, because the mindset of individuals in London were totally different from the mindset of the individuals in Birmingham. And also with a name like 100 Black Men, it was a name that kind of scared people. No, it scared people. I mean, when the organization first started, people would say to me, look, don't call me at work. Don't send me an email. No, this is no lie. Don't send me an email at work, because obviously it had 100 black men on it. You know,
Of course.
I had times when I called organizations and I said 100 black men, and they said they would come back, and then I'd be on the phone for 5-10 minutes and no one would come back. And it was a time, but I believed in it. And fortunately, I met great individuals like yourself, Eddie, and I have to say that, because you were a powerhouse in the organization, and there were a number of other individuals who believed in the vision. And together, we were able to be steadfast, and we created an organization that has created ripples throughout London and the UK, because there are so many organizations who, through the example of the 100, they were empowered to start their own organizations. And for me, the highlight of, well, there were two highlights. The first highlight was our first community program, when the young people were speaking about how the organization had helped them so much, and the parents had helped them. And I looked at the back, and there were these grown men who had been part of the organization, but might not have recognized the difference they were making. They had tears in their eyes. That was so powerful. Mm-hmm. But the other highlight was when we held our event in Park Lane. We had Lennox Lewis and Tyrone Wee and Michael Watson.
Is that the one at Hilton, or where was that?
At the Hilton in Park Lane.
Yes.
And you opened up our program, and we had a letter from the Prime Minister, a letter from the Deputy Prime Minister endorsing and the Mayor endorsing what we had done. So this is the journey that we're taking. A volunteer organization in, I think it was under 3 years. And that was a powerful endorsement, but also it was a testament to what can happen when black men come together with a committed goal. And I appreciate the journey, because that journey not only helped me as a father, because it did help develop my mindset as a father, but also my skill sets, which I use today in my business as an entrepreneur. There were so many lessons that I learned. So I'm grateful for the journey. It was a volunteer journey. It was something where I gave back, but another saying that I used to say is, no man can truly help another without truly helping himself. And I've benefited greatly through my experience of being part of the 100 Black Men of London.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that, once again, I can relate to. The experience of being part of the organization was great for me, to meet other like-minded Black people, to meet people who were movers and shakers in different industries, and to learn so many life skills, even just the life skills of some of the courses of what we were teaching the children as mentors. Yes. One of the great things I always say, so this is for anybody out there who's ever considered doing voluntary work or mentoring, is you cannot be a mentor without actually mentoring yourself. What do I mean?
Absolutely.
As you're delivering the coaching, you would know this as a life coach as well, as you're providing that information, you're also replaying it back to yourself and checking yourself, and where's that not showing up in my life? And you also know that you need to maintain a certain level of consistency and standards in your own life to be able to do that. And like you said, to be able to see what comes back in terms of some of the children. I know some of the children that we work with end up, joining some of the political parties. Of some of them who I'm still following and now have become major surgery doctors or lawyers. And
absolutely.
Like,
really
wow,
proud. Fantastic.
I mean, awesome stuff.
Absolutely fantastic. I went to a small gathering recently, only a couple of weeks ago, and one of our mentees were there, and his dad had to compliment the organization on the impact that we had on him. So yeah, the legacy is there, the legacy lives on, and the organization is still going strong and still doing a great service to the community.
So here's another question that I'd say to you. So think back to also the social conditions that you saw at the time that made you feel to look at your why and then say, okay, I'm going to go about creating this organization. In your opinion, looking at some of the social conditions that we as a community find ourselves in today, what for you has changed, if anything? And bearing in mind, the 100 Black men have done great work. Like you said, I mean, you know, they touched tens of thousands of lives. The ripples effects are up and down the UK, both young and old. And there are many, many other organizations out there doing similar things as well, which are also touching their various lives. But the question is, yeah, as my question was,
I think the one thing that I've noticed has changed is, one, I think the young people have been empowered to participate in this movement of change. And I think the social media has definitely helped that. And I think even just recently, we can see with the Black Lives Matters movement, it was young people that were driving it. They were there on the street making their voice heard. And I think definitely that has changed, where young people have become a lot more empowered and a lot more educated about the way they can potentially make a difference. I also believe that there is a sense, and I think it did happen, it was happening before, this recent spate of empowerment for the Black Lives Matter, that people feel that they can make an individual difference in their community. There are so many organizations, as you said, out there doing some great work, some great work, and not just in mentoring, but you know, they're forming their own economic pockets, which at some point I think will grow up. I'm a member of a few groups, and these are men and women who are looking how they can economically come together to not just use their money, but use their knowledge to be able to create something for the future. So I truly believe that we're at a point whereby us, and I say the community as Black people, and let me just say this, I always, people say the Black community, I don't look at the Black community as one homogenous group. I never have done. But what I do believe is there are pockets within the Black community who will do things, who will raise their head above the pulpit, and they will pull the rest up with them. I don't see us ever moving as one homogenous group, because we're not. But I do believe that there are definitely pockets of people out there who really truly believe that they can make a difference. And the great thing about the social media and the platforms that we're on is now we can control the narrative now. We can start to control the narrative. It's not just down to the mainstream press here that controls the narrative. And not only can we control the narrative, we can also help to counter the narrative that the mainstream press has of us. So for me, it's exciting times. I mean, we're in an era here now where we're seeing events happening around the world that we've never seen happen before. It's a flame that has been lit. You know, I look forward to how that flame is fanned. And you know, you posted just recently about Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
And what he did. I mean, I actually looked at that, and even though he's inflaming a number of the Canadians, well, you'd expect that, but that's a massive move. £221 million fund strictly aimed at the Black community. There's 3 strands of it, and I have to commend him, because it's a very, very brave thing for Justin Trudeau to do, because he must know he's going to come into a lot of stick for doing that. But let's hope this is a move that other governments follow, because there are disparities. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it, there are disparities, and he's doing his bit as he recognizes, not to fill that gap, but to make the platform a little bit more even. And I commend him for that.
Definitely so. I mean, to be quite honest, so for those of you who may not be aware what we're talking about here, so Justin Trudeau, who's the Prime Minister of Canada, if any of you have been following him, in my opinion, I've liked the guy. He's actually seems to be quite outspoken and liberal in the sense of fairness. But anyway, he recently announced a few days ago that they've launched a 221 million. So that's the government working with the banks in Canada, a 221 million Black entrepreneurship program. So in effect, making that funding available. And in his announcement, he's kind of alluding to the fact that actually we recognize it's been unfair.
Absolutely.
We recognize that it's not a balanced playing field. And right now we want to bring it to at least closer to it being more balanced. So, hey, this money is available to Black business owners, which is a great thing. And also, since we're beginning to see Blaxit, as they're calling it, many Black Americans who are deciding that America is not for them, I think you might see many of them actually just moving up north, which makes sense because Canada is a larger America.
On top of that, Addy, look, the GDP of Africa is predicted to outgrow Europe. I mean, if you look at how they're talking about the GDP in Africa, well, they're talking about the population growth, but also the GDP of Africa is really, really looking set to explode over the next coming years. So
it was previously to COVID. So the latest stuff that's come out of this and the World Financial Banks is actually looking like things are going to go down.
Going downhill now.
Going downhill globally. And interestingly enough, history has taught us that when the world, any certain powers within the world feel that they don't have enough, they tend to go and grab. And anyway, but we won't go into discussion as well. But so based on what is happening in Canada, do you envisage at any point something like that happening at a government level in this country, aimed specifically at Black businesses?
Well, definitely not with Boris Johnson in power.
well, no, hang on. Let's be fair. If we can fund it, we won't fund it. If we can't fund it, we won't fund it. So,
definitely not. I mean, he may fund goose hunting. He may fund shooting.
Well, if there are gooses, we will fund goose hunting.
Because remember, we mustn't gather in social gatherings of 6, but you can go goose hunting with 29 of your friends.
Of course.
That's right. So I mean, look.
Let's call it how it is.
This country has a history of not even being apologetic, to be honest with you. So to suggest that they would ever go to that length at this juncture, I mean, I can't see it. I really can't. To be honest, I would love to say yes, because obviously my children's children may benefit from that. But, you know, I think this country has always been one at playing verbal politics and pandering. So I can't see anything like that happen. The brave mood that Justin Trudeau did, I can't see that happening here.
Sure. Okay. No, I appreciate that. So as we start getting close to wrapping up, so you are, I don't know whether to call you a social activist, but you've demonstrated and spent time, money, effort. And I've only seen a fraction of what you've put in, and only you would know the true cost that's made for you. But you are also a business owner and entrepreneur, okay? So combining those two thinkings, and then also on the back end of what we're talking about, the government and entrepreneurship, we talk about the Black economy, right? And like you said, there's many groups on Facebook which are being created, which support that, which is awesome. And I think there's the one which is Black-owned economy, which was started by a young girl during, so once again, the young people leading that.
Absolutely, has a lot of followers, definitely.
How do we bring all of this together? I mean, I hear what you're saying there, and I'm also of the mind that there's not one community. For me, that might be one of the challenges. How do we bring that all together? Because historically, and here's just my personal view, when I look at, you know, even how the Europeans gained power, when you look at your Alexander the Great, when you look at your Genghis Khans, when you look at any of these historical figures throughout time, the first thing that they had to do was actually turn all of their separate tribes into one collective, i.e. align everybody to one, which usually meant some infighting, but we won't go into all of that, before they were able to go out and have the big impact. So my question is, how do you in your mind see us bringing all of the great stuff, pockets of stuff that we're doing, so we can get to the point that rather than being one arrow that can be broken easily, we become such a force that we can't. Bearing in mind, also, and I keep on saying in every show, bearing in mind the numbers are showing at the moment that our community annual spend is in the region of £30 billion a year.
Well, I mean, it's a question that's just so difficult to answer. I mean, the ideal answer is one that we need a voice, and I think in all those situations where people have come together, even temporary, there's a voice, and that voice has either come from an individual, or that voice has or come from an organization. And we've seen that in certain countries, when an organization has a voice that appeals to the masses instead of their select group, it can have the ability to bring people together. Do we have that voice here in the UK at the moment? I cannot see it at the moment. Do we have that potential to have that voice? I would say definitely we do have that potential to have that voice. I do think, as I said to you, there are people being far more proactive now than ever before. But we need that voice. And that voice has to come, as I said, from a charismatic individual or a charismatic organization whose agenda from the start is collectiveness, whose agenda from the start is bringing the disparate measures that people are doing together to be able to work as a collective. And, you know, and it takes an individual organization with a vision to be able to do that, and understand that, you know, it's never going to be an easy road, because, you know, just like when I started the 100 Black Men, unfortunately, people will condemn you before they could glorify you. Yeah, they will vilify you. They will ask, what are your motives? Why are you doing it? What's in it for you? They won't trust you. They will slander you. They will berate you. They will dislike you. But you have to have that persistence and that consistency and that integrity of time to be able to do that. And unfortunately, you know, there are people who may have the ability but are not willing to be the hero. And, you know, because, you know, they will look over time and they will unfortunately see that many of these individuals who have had the voice, who have had the ability to bring people together, unfortunately suffered, how can I say, not so graceful endings. And their lives have not been so fruitful. So it's so easy for someone to say, you know what, I'm just going to think about me and mine. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But if that individual is there, if that organization is developed, then definitely, you know, I truly believe it can have. I mean, we have some fantastically, I mean, the wealth within the Black community in this country here now, it is incredible. There are some individuals with incredible wealth. There are some individuals with incredible knowledge, some individuals with incredible skills. And as I said, you know, the way technology and social media works now, it allows us to be able to write our own narrative. It allows us to be able to tell our own story. We don't have to wait on the powers that be to allow us to do certain things. So, yeah.
I'll go finish up.
Yeah. So, in that sense, the opportunity is there. The opportunity, the garden is there. It's just equivalent of whether someone's willing to be able to plant on organizations when they plant themselves in that garden. Because as we know, you know, the higher the monkey climbs up the tree, the more it exposes its posterior. And that's what any organization and any individual who wants to do this collective gathering would have to do.
I mean, thank you for being so candid in that as well. And some of the things that you said resonate with what Paul Lawrence also shared when we also had a similar discussion, which is, as a community, we tend to pull down our leaders. So I guess here's my personal opinion. It's a humble personal opinion. It's beginning, the more and more I hear, it's beginning to feel, does it mean that in our community, and obviously when I say these things, I'm not generalizing it to everybody in our community, do we have a crab in the bucket mentality then?
I mean, look, to say that would again cast one homogenous group in our community. I think in any, I think in any social group you have that. It doesn't matter. In any social group you have a crab in the bottom, because unfortunately it doesn't matter where you are in a hierarchy. In that select social group, there are individuals who don't want you to rise any higher. So that is unfortunate, and it's not indicative to the Black community. It is around there.
Of course,
So
and I guess the reason
that
why,
would be my answer to that.
no, I get that. And I guess the reason why I'm putting that out there, and like I always say to people, when I put these things out there, it's not for us to make it right or wrong. It's more just a case of, do we want to look in the mirror sometime and say, okay, here might even be one of the root problems that we have? Because as you've heard me say many times, if you listen to my shows, I'm a firm believer that only we can save we. We can complain about people's policies and all those things. We've been doing it for years. We can complain and write petitions, but ultimately we can save we. And that might mean us just looking at some of the truths about what's going on in our community. And obviously my truth doesn't have to reflect everybody else's truth. And just say, okay, here's what maybe a root problem is, so that we can then take steps to addressing that. And I'm a firm believer as well that there are many, many people within our communities who have the ability to strategically lead all of these things, because I seriously do believe that if we can bring all of the programs, and I'm not saying that people lose their autonomy or their independence, but we can bring it together as one voice, the economical side of things, bring the political aspect side of things together under something which at least externally seems like, okay, they're moving as one. I believe that we'd be much more impactful. And I'm also, just from my point of view, once again, nobody needs to take this on board, but for me, I start looking at, well, what can I do? What can we do to change? Which means that maybe some of the problems we see in our communities are as a result of some of the things that we might not be doing. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
or something
yeah.
we are doing.
In summary, I mean, this has always been my philosophy, and it's still my philosophy here now. You know, obviously being part of an organisation like the 100 Black Men, and over the years, and even in my other social activities I used to do with Canna Academy in schools, at Woodson Borough Luncheon, and, you know, my book, The 7 Principles of Respecters, when it comes to young people, the whole lot. You know, I have a very, very cold answer for people sometimes. And the individuals who say we, what can we do? What can we do? And I say this to them, I say, look, there is no we without me. There cannot be a we without me. So I cannot speak about we without including me. So before I say what are we doing, I have to have a firm understanding and clarity about what I am doing, because I'm part of that we. Because far too often it's the question of what are we doing? What could we do, without people taking a look and reflecting about what they're individually doing themselves. And I think that's a great place for anybody to start. And, you know, when you look at the 100 Black Men, you know, when we were part of it, we would have had no idea the ripple effect. And if you drop a pebble in the water, you see the ripple. We have no idea of the ripple effect that our individual works that collectively came together have done. And it's the same way with us, or as individuals. When we step up, when we do something, we have no idea the ripple effect that our actions, even though we may think they're small, may have. And I think if we all collectively decided to look at ourselves and, well, what am I doing? Before we start to say the we, and we're clear about what we were doing, and we're doing what we should be doing, I believe that ripple effect will help to be able to create a tidal wave and create change in itself. But that's an ideological perspective. But hey, this is what we're talking about here now.
Visions, change are set by new ideologies, right? And sometimes we have to be ideological in order to be able to create the future that we want. We're coming to the last part of the show, and I really appreciate, you know, some of the stuff that you shared with us today. So I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions before we wrap it up. So the first question is this: what is the biggest mistake that you think or you've made in business, and more importantly, what lessons did you learn from it?
Well, I would say that the biggest mistake that I have made is not creating a structured plan from where, because I wanted to go, because, you know, I think my personality is a creative And, you know, I think the big picture in my head, but, you know, you gain so much clarity when you put something down in paper. So this is why I use mind maps now. Everything I do, I map out. And one of the biggest mistakes I made in a business I was doing is not mapping out where I was going, the possible opportunities, but also the possible threats. Because when that threat came along, I hadn't anticipated it.
Sure.
And it kind of took me out. And I think sometimes, you know, there can be a little bit of, I'm not going to say arrogance, but a little bit too much confidence in what you're doing, to not take that time to be able to break it down and see that the devil is in the detail.
Sure.
And you only see the detail when you really take your time. And this has been the great thing about my journey, even now, and my project, which I'd just like to mention very quickly at the end.
Sure.
Now, I've taken the time to map it out into a minute detail, which has allowed me to be able to create a platform which I have now. And I'm so proud of it, and I'm so excited about the lives it will change over the coming years.
Awesome. And then one other question before the last question, which then I guess makes this the second to last question.
Last question. Good. Good. That's okay.
Yeah. See, I didn't do too GCSE maths, but I'm learning.
Well, I got you.
Thank you, bro. So, what one piece of business advice? I know you've given some snippets in what you just shared, which thank you. What one piece of business advice would you leave with the entrepreneurs or business owners, or indeed people might even be thinking about starting a business, who are watching right now? Actually, stop. I'm going to do something here which I do with a lot of my clients.
Okay.
That question was too broad. Why? Because I gave you too many customer segments. The needs of an existing business owner are going to be different for somebody who's even thinking about starting a business. So let me narrow that down. For somebody who's already got a business, what one piece of business advice would you leave them, or tip would you give them now based on your experience?
I suppose there is so many contexts to that. The one thing that I recognize, and this is there are individuals who are, or sole traders, or individuals who work by themselves, is to create a vision where you realize you can't do it by yourself. Okay. Because, you know, in this day and age with technology, I think it can be easy to think you can be the bottle washer, the cook, the chef, because technology allows you to do all of these things, but it diversifies your focus. But when you realize, when you have a vision that is bigger than yourself, you realize that you need to create a team, you need to create a support structure, you need to create, you need to develop yourself in such a way that you are able to be able to work in a team with other people. And I think this is what I've definitely learned over the time, you know, to create a big enough vision where I recognize first that I cannot do it by myself, but also create a personality and a mindset and a character in myself where I'm able to be able to work with other people. Other people are willing to work with me. So together and collectively, we can make the vision work, and you each support each other. I think far too often the vision some people have is so small they feel they can do it by themselves, so they have no inclination to develop the skills when it comes to be able to bring other people on board and create a vision, a shared vision.
I think that's a great piece of advice. I think it's in Rich Dad's Poor Dad's book, Cash Quadrant. I can't remember what the name of the book is. He also talks about the different quadrants. So you have the employed, the self-employed, the investors and business owners. And actually, the worst place to be is in the self-employed, because in effect, if it's just you, it's all dependent on you. It's very easy to, like you said, try and do everything, but then burn yourself out and become totally ineffective. But you're kind of stuck in a prison because you know that's where it's at. Also, you've shared so much value. You've taken time out of your busy schedule to be with us, which of course is appreciated. How can people find out more about your products, services, and other offerings?
Well, I'm the Lean Mind Body Coach. They can go to the leanmindbodycoach.com. On there, they will find out the services that I offer. They will see about my tribe. Tribe is what I call weight loss made simple. So it's a membership community where people can follow the same examples that I did, learn what I did. There's lots of resources on there which can help people lose weight and create a healthier lifestyle. So there's a link there. They can also purchase my book, the Lean Mind Body Method. But there are two exciting things that are happening. This coming Monday, I'm starting my first live podcast, which is Make Health Your Habit. It will be on September the 21st. It will be, if they go to my Facebook page, there's a link there. They can set themselves a reminder. And this will be a weekly podcast whereby I'll be speaking to individuals who are about making themselves healthier. And it won't just be about fitness and nutrition. We're talking about the whole holistic side of being health. And then also on the, I'm also holding a webinar called Why We Get Fat. And that will be on, well, the date, I did change the date, but the link is on my site, the leanmindbodycoach.com, and they can register for this webinar, which will really demystify the real reason why we put on weight and how we can avoid it and how we can lose it. So if they go to the leanmindbodycoach.com, they'll be able to find out all about what I'm doing presently at the moment. And it's also the Lean Mind Body Coach on Instagram, or the Lean Mind Body Coach on LinkedIn as well. So I look forward to connecting with any of your readers your listeners in the future.
Awesome.
You know, it's been absolutely great. And let me just say this, and I've known you for a number of years, and just like you've seen my journey and you've seen my growth, I've watched your growth. Incredibly impressed with your resilience. Really love the initiative that you're doing right now. I wish you all the best. And it is about perseverance and being consistent, you know, and offering value and allowing people to see that, you know, that you really want to see some change. So really commend you for what you're doing. And I appreciate you bringing me on your show, sir.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And, you know, I'm honored to hear that from you. Like I said, you know, my experience in the 100, I'll never forget the first time when I came to, I can't remember what the event was, and I heard you saying that, you know, are you concerned enough? And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of those words were really what inspired me. Like I said, my time around you and the other members of the organization, especially where I was at that point, which you totally knew, helped me to look and say, wow, okay, there's a lot of work that I need to do on self to be able to even start thinking or operating at that level. So also, once again, I'm grateful to you for providing that platform. And I would encourage you that also, I know you're a member of Circulate, the Facebook group. So please go in there when you get a moment and put in your upcoming events, you know, why do we get fat,
I'll do that.
Podcast and all that stuff, put that in there, because obviously that's what that platform's for. Once again, I thank you for taking the time out. I thank you for everything that you've contributed, and even what people may not know over the years to the Black community and to even where we are right now. Things may not be perfect, but we're still on a journey. So thank you for that, and I thank you for sharing some of the key information you shared. And definitely one of the things I'm taking away from this is, Ade, you need to have a set bedtime. You know, like when you're young, and mum says, "What are you doing up? Get to bed." You need to be in bed by a certain time. I might actually just have that recording, so like maybe at 10 o'clock it is that. What are you doing up? Get to bed. Awesome, brother. As always,
stuff, man.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. So your listeners, once again, so if depending on where you're looking or listening to this, please do feel free to go over to Facebook group Circulate. So that's spelled CIRQULATE. So it's a plan. Well, anyway, you can see it behind me there. What am I talking about? It's fine. Or whatever. It's behind me anyway. So do for that so you can get access to all of this information. And you know, I'm sure, like myself, you've taken some things which can help you on your journey to build a bigger business that hopefully will give you the financial and time freedom that you're looking for, and the quality of life that you may want to be able to pass on to the next generation. But also, I'm hoping that we'll also all begin to think wider than ourselves and thinking about our community, and of course, that means we all get to benefit if we all succeed as a community, or at least have improvements. My name is Ade Shukoya. The show is the show is Mind Your Own Black Business. Our guest tonight has been Ken Barnes. And for anybody who's listening right now, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again next Tuesday when I have another guest on the program. So, till then, take care. And
bye for now. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.